I'm going to introduce a gentleman here who works for a current member of the U.S. Senate. His name is Dan Kunzman, and he is the Chief of Staff for U.S. Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. So please join me in welcoming him to the stage.
Good morning. Nice to see everybody. Again, my name's Dan Kunzman. I'm Chief of Staff for U.S. Senator John Barrasso. Senator Barrasso is a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon, and he's also a U.S. Senator for Wyoming. That's probably not a state a lot of people have visited. We have two of the largest national parks in the country, Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone National Park. So those are kind of our big drivers in our state. We also produce a lot of oil, gas, coal, a lot of energy, wind energy for the country. So that's my background. I live here in the District of Columbia now, but I'm originally from Wyoming, in a small town called Laramie, Wyoming. So Wyoming is a ranching, farming, energy-producing tourism state. And I've been Senator Barrasso's Chief of Staff for about 8 years now. And a wonderful, busy 8 years, and also living here in the District of Columbia for about, I think 18 years now, which I love. I know you have a busy program, and you've been seeing a lot of sites around Washington, and I know you have lots of much more interesting guests coming after me, but I was told that maybe I could talk just briefly about what we do here. As was mentioned, we have 100 U.S. senators on this side of the Capitol, and every day, not every day, we're in an unusual period right now in a trial over impeachment, but a typical day involves senators going to committee hearings, hearing about issues of school choice, for example, is an issue that comes before our committees. And then eventually legislation that's proposed makes its way to the Senate floor, and senators get an opportunity to vote on that legislation, and with the potential of that becoming law. And as I'm sure you've learned, the House passes a bill, the Senate has to pass a bill, and then the two have to agree. And if they do agree, then that legislation goes to the president, and the president can sign it, or he can choose not to sign it. That's a veto. And the bill then dies. So it's a long process. It's a complicated one sometimes, but it's one that achieves laws that a majority of people typically would support. That's why that process is long, and that's why that process is hard. It has to be something that people agree on. So if you agree on healthcare policy, or if you agree on school choice, or if you agree on energy policy, it's difficult to make those laws because you have to have a lot of consensus. And that's the way the system has been created and put together. And it can be long and arduous, but eventually, hopefully, good laws are passed and laws that people will eventually support and benefit from.